it's now 3 weeks and 1 day since Nicola went missing, and she hasn't been found. And the pressure and focus on a very, very small village has been incredibly intense. I mean, we've all heard about the issues that are going on with TikTokers and general media TikTokers, just people, gawkers, people like that coming down, and I'm media, I include us in that problem. But it's become very intense in terms of mainly elderly residents that live in houses near where the bridge goes across the road, Garstang Road, to the path there. They've had people like looking in their windows, almost standing in their front gardens, to the point where they feel like they can't leave their front door, or they're going to, like, somebody's going to try and interview them or film them, that kind of situation. So it's very uncomfortable for them.
Can you kind of give us an idea of who it is exactly who's coming down to the village? Because one of our colleagues here at Times Radio, Daryl Morris, did an investigation into how TikTokers and people who were doing their own personal kind of social media investigation into how Nicola went missing had gone down, originally about 10 days ago. But who's there now? Where are they? Where are they staying? Are they there every day?
It's well, I'm not sure where they're staying, but I went down myself the day before yesterday, and I think that has got, since the police took some action, put some dispersal orders in, I do think the pressure has gone down in that sense. I don't think there's as many visible people there. There's not, generally it's quieter because the police presence has dialed down, as has the press presence to some extent, as how, so there are people wandering about, there are asking questions, but it's quite hard to sort of tell who's doing what sometimes, because people are just wandering about with phones, really. I don't know where they're staying. I couldn't say that, but they seem to be still, that interest is there. But I'm hearing that it's also people finding phone numbers, emailing people, that kind of thing as well. All of that is going on too, just finding names. So it's sort of coming from all directions. I've mentioned this, but there's a population of less than 700 in St Michael's, so it's a lot. It's not. I'm the editor of the Lancashire Post, and St Michael's is on the patch of both of the daily papers that I'm the editor of, and St Michael's rarely comes up in the news agenda. It's not somewhere where things happen much. It's very quiet, so it's a bit of a shock to the system.
A few days on now, after the dust has settled from that police announcement about alcohol in connection with the menopause, how do residents there, feel about that information being released a couple of days on, that the private medical information had actually been released? Is there still a certain amount of anger from people that it came out before it had to?
I think generally people do feel incredibly uncomfortable with that information being out there. I think certainly in Lancashire there's perhaps more of an understanding than there is on the national stage, that the police were put under a vast amount of pressure. This was a decision, possibly the wrong decision, but it was a decision made under a huge amount of pressure, because another a media outlet had gone to them and said, we're going to release this story. So they tried to control that narrative. They tried to get that information out there in a way which the family had signed off quickly.
Yes,
I don't think it was something that was made, a decision that was made with a lot of, they didn't spend hours, they didn't have very long to make that decision. So in some ways, and if you speak to anyone in and around the investigation, I've spoken to a number of people who were, sort of involved quite closely, they're all highly supportive of everything the police have done. They say the police have been, I spoke to one resident yesterday, and she said that, the police are literally, coming to check on them every day, really, just to make sure they're okay. So I don't think in that sense the police, they've been, it's unprecedented what they've had to do, and yes, there are questions to be asked about that information being released. It's not something, I'm a woman in my 40s, I wouldn't want that information released. Certainly it's very uncomfortable and probably not the right thing to do, but at the same time I don't think generally the way the police have handled it, certainly locally, is considered to be fairly decent, to be honest.